What's going on, you guys? My name is Hartley, and in this video we are going to review the Q3 financials for Drone Delivery Canada. Here is everything you need to know. Let's go. Okay, so first of all, this is all just my opinion. This video is for entertainment purposes only, and no, I am not being paid for any of these videos. Okay, so the company just released Q3 financials. In Canada, the ticker symbol is FLT and it trades for 69 cents. In the US, it is TAKOF and it's 53 cents. You can also do your own research on the company and see all their press releases at dronedeliverycanada.com, and you can review their financials and management discussions at cedar.com by looking them up. That is where I pulled all of my information from. Okay, now let's dive into the financials. So the first thing I always like to look at is the balance sheet. The balance sheet helps you determine how the company got to where they're at. It doesn't matter if a company does $10 million in revenue. If they have $1 billion in debt, it's not very impressive. And so this is where you figure that out. And so let's go through the balance sheet here. As you can see, about $13 million, $14 million in assets. Kind of not much of a change since last year. Same thing here with the long-term assets. Not much of a change year over year. And then down here in the liabilities is where it gets really interesting to me, because this is where Drone Delivery Canada is kind of separate or different than most companies, in that they have almost zero long-term debt. So you can see there's no bank loans here, there's no term loans payable, there's absolutely nothing except for their lease obligations, and this is just the part of it that's outside of 1 year, I presume. And so what's really nice here is they don't have a big monthly drawdown for financing or for interest rates or for anything like that. All they have to do is focus on their business model and becoming profitable in their existing business model. They don't have to worry about paying off debt or anything like that, which is really nice. This is a very clean balance sheet in my opinion. Okay, now the next statement here is the income statement, and this is probably the thing that I was most excited about, and the top line here is what I went to first, and it is the service revenue. And so at first glance here, I thought, wow, that actually wasn't very impressive. So in 9 months they did 62,000, and in the last 3 months they did 36,000, and they had like basically major business expenses. They spent $4 million in operating expenses between a variety of different things. So this is no small business, and they only have $36,000 in revenue in this month. So when I saw that, I wasn't super happy with that. I wasn't excited about it. I was like, oh geez, like I was expecting a little bit bigger number. However, when you dive into the actual revenue numbers and you start to read the actual management discussions, you realize how they're accounting for their revenue, and it starts to make a little more sense. So this is a quote directly from the management discussion, and it says, revenue is recognized over the term of the customer contract and only commences once client setup is complete and operations at the customer site have been tested. And so what this means is that they're not going to register any revenue on their financial statements until they have passed the testing stage of that contract or of that operations, and then it will be brought in as that operation or as that contract is completed. So if it's a $100,000 contract that's signed today but doesn't start for 6 months and operates for 6 months, you're not going to see all of that revenue until a year from now. And so I think I didn't recognize that, I didn't fully realize that, and I probably need to keep that in mind. But when you look at the revenue, they went from 2,500 to 24,000 to 36,000. So like obviously not super impressive for a large $200 million company like this. However, it is nice to see that there's at least some revenue on the board. They're starting to bring in some money. And now that I understand a little bit better about how this revenue is categorized and when they realize the revenue, that makes all of the difference, because they have had a couple of announcements come out recently, which is really nice to see. So the one thing that did catch my eye though in the entire report that stood out to me a little bit more than anything though was the budget. So this is a screenshot of their expected expenditures in 2020 and in 2021. And so what I found was really interesting here is that they actually budgeted over $1 million in commercial testing. That was the money that was set aside in 2020 for commercial testing. Now, my assumption, and I'm making a total assumption here, but I assume commercial testing means getting these drones ready to actually fly, going through the Transport Canada laws and regulations and testing, and actually getting these drones up and ready to go. That's what I assume commercial testing means, and they budgeted $1 million for it, and they've only spent $27,000 on it. They've also budgeted $875,000 in product development and only spent $128,000. And then at the bottom here you can see exploration for international and commercialization. They budgeted $150,000 and they haven't spent anything yet. Same thing for domestic marketing. And so what this looks like to me is that all of the numbers are much less than the budgeted. One thing is maybe that's cost controls, which is just really good. Michael Zara's coming in there and really focusing on the costs. Or the other side of it is maybe the development and the testing and the approvals haven't gone quite as well or as fast as they had anticipated. Maybe Transport Canada is taking a little bit more time than anticipated, and these budgets are just a little bit out to date. I would like to see these updated, especially if 2021 isn't going to be close as like what it looks like could be right here. However, we'll see how the next 3 months go out. There you have Condor testing in phase 3 right now, so I'm really excited about that. But this definitely stood out to me because the actuals to date are nowhere close to where they should be in regards to the budgeted from last year. So really interesting. I'm not sure if it's a good or a bad thing yet, but still trying to figure that out in my mind. Now, recently the company has put out a ton of different news releases and press releases. It's been almost like once every 2 days, which is absolutely amazing, but it also means that we didn't get a ton of new information other than the financials with regards to the recent announcement that just came out tonight. And so just to recap on some of that recent news, they did announce partnerships in Africa, India, and the United States. So super exciting there, basically trying to spread their system around the world and build it up that way. I really like their business model. I mentioned that a couple times. They also added a couple new board members, and Condor testing continues to proceed. It sounds like things are going really good, and we're hoping for final approvals before the end of Q4, but it may go on a little bit longer. We're not really sure yet. We're kind of in the dark on this one. Hopefully, we all just get that email saying the Condor is approved and your stock's going higher. That'd be really nice, but until then, we're still waiting for a news announcement on the Condor testing. They did get approvals for beyond visual line of sight, so they can fly a drone out farther than a guy can see it, which is really nice to see. And they also inked a partnership with Ford. So they have a ton of announcements that have come out recently. That has been a lot of what the management discussions were about in the actual documents there. And so lots going on with this company. I just don't think it has been fully reflected back into the revenue statements yet, partly because of a timing thing and partly because this company is just so young and still getting out there. Now, this is what the chart looks like, and this is basically where I bought in. So this little green arrow here, I bought in here, I think at like 65 cents. And today it hit a high of about 73 cents, it looks like, and it dropped back down to about 69 cents here. So really, really interesting day. As you can see, the last 2 days have had significantly higher volume, which is something I'm really, really positive about. We've also seen the price action move above the 20-day and 50-day moving average, and this white line here is actually a trend line that goes like 2 years back, and so we are finally approaching it. And if we see a breakthrough of this trend line, I am going to be super bullish on this, and I'm pretty excited about it. As far as I can tell, this looks like a trend reversal to me. It looks pretty good in my eyes, and I'm still feeling pretty confident about the chart right now. Okay, now when it comes to analysts, there's currently 2 analysts that are covering the stock. Both Canaccord Genuity and Echelon Wealth Partners have a price target at $1.60. I'm not sure why it's the exact same, but kind of interesting. So both of the analysts looking at the stock are pretty bullish on it. It will be interesting to see how they react to these actual financials, but we'll see if anything changes with these guys over time. Now, if you guys are interested, in my opinion, I do run a Discord chat. I'm trying to build it up as a community of traders where I share my analysis, my weekly watch list, and I try to get everybody else to share their resources and their trading ideas in this group chat. And the idea is that when you make money or when I make money, hopefully I can share those ideas, those trades, and those resources so that we can all make more money. And if you are interested in something like that, I set it up. It is $5 per month, and you can sign up with the link down below. I would love to have you there, and definitely check it out. Now, in summary, this is a very, very young company, and I think it is going to be primarily catalyst driven. It's going to take good earnings or a big announcement or some new partnership for this stock to drive up, but the problem is I think it's going to drive up quickly and you don't want to miss it. So for me, I am holding my position. I am keeping my stock. I want to own this stock when that Condor gets approved because I think it's going to have a big impact on the stock. Maybe not overnight, but the 2 or 3 months after that Condor approval, as we start seeing more partnerships and more customers come online, I think that is going to be very, very exciting. And they also have an extremely clean balance sheet. They've got about $14 million of cash in the bank. They've got at least a year's worth of runway as long as they can put a little bit of revenue up on the board. And that balance sheet is spot clean. There is no long-term liabilities. There's no interest payments. There's nothing that is going to drain this company except for the expenses and the choices that they actually make. And so if there is success, it's going to be completely on them. And if it is a failure, it's going to be because they spent the money in the wrong areas. But as of right now, that is not a concern of mine. I really like the company. I am happy to hold this stock. We'll see how things things go over the next little while, but I do recognize that it's a young company, it is a volatile company, and it is going to move pretty rapidly, pretty drastically, and it could go in either direction. So you need to be aware of that when you're holding this company. You need to be well prepared for it. You need to have a diversified portfolio, and if you get any value out of this video, please consider hitting that like and subscribe button. I sincerely appreciate it, and we'll see you in the next one. Have a great night. Peace.